Ay, 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 ay. Dee, ay, 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 dee, ay, ay. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, ay, dee, ay. Good morning, everybody. We're going to get into some learning, inspiration connected with this week's Torah portion. You know, I'm still working out all the details of the technical side of this operation, so bear with me for a moment. Hope everybody is well. We're dedicating our study today for a complete healing for those who are sick, and we have a list of people that we maintain, including mention some names who are in need of real healing. Baruch David ben Mira, Emunah Hannah, Bat Sarah Mullah, Rivka Smoleni bat Nechama, Yochevet bat Natali, Harriet bat Lillian, Karen Shel bat Gola Rachel, and all those who need a healing. What is the greatest part of the Sabbath? The greatest part of the Sabbath, Shabbat, says, sorry, got to start over. With this thing, trying to record this. All right, here we go. What is the greatest part of the Sabbath? What is the greatest part of Shabbat? It prepares me for the week ahead. Now, we often think of Shabbat, the Sabbath, as a time of rest. I had a long week. It was nonstop. The demands on my time were constant. I didn't have a moment to really focus on bigger things. And the weekend comes. I relax. It makes sense. TGIF. Thank God it's Friday. And that's the goal of the modern weekend. People used to not have that opportunity. They used to work 6 days a week. And on Sunday, in that part of the world was the Sabbath, and people had that, day off. Another way to look at Shabbat is that it's a time when I can connect spiritually. Yes, I am going to not log in. I'm going to not work in the same way that I was. I'm not going to go to my job in the same way. We can also look at this as a time to connect. It's a time I can spend with my loved ones. It's a time when I can strengthen relationships that are meaningful for me. It's also a time when I can contemplate, meditate, pray. It's a time when I can think. We learn just a brilliant idea from a passage in this week's Torah portion about Jacob's journey from Beersheba as he leaves the Holy Land. Why is he leaving? Well, he's afraid. He's been told by his mother that his brother is out to kill him. He engineered a little bit of a switcheroo. He ended up receiving a blessing. His brother thinks he cheated him out of a blessing and a birthright. In other words, that he absconded with an inheritance that was supposed to belong to the other brother, Esau. So Jacob's told he's got to get out of town. Well, when somebody tells you you got to get out of town, well, you grab your go bag and you go. You don't just sit around making plans, going on the website, figuring out, what's the best route I should take, or how can I get the best flight out of LA? Or if somebody tells you got to leave town, you run. But that's not what Jacob does. The words that are used to describe Jacob preparing for his journey are just that. It's a preparation. The Kabbalists point out, why is the name of the city repeated here? City might be an exaggeration. Why is the name of the town repeated here? We already know that Jacob's leaving Beersheba. And they say that Beersheba is a place, but it's also a concept. The word Beersheba is connected to Shabbat, to the Sabbath. Sheva means 7, and the Sabbath is the 7th day of the week. So the Kabbalists say that Jacob connected himself to the spiritual vitality that he would need when he went out onto his journey. So, when I go on a trip, I usually make a list of things I'm going to bring, right? Well, I make what's going to be helpful. If I'm going this way, I'm going that way, by car, by plane, what's going to help me on the way? And I love making travel lists so that I want to feel more confident that when I'm out on a trip, that I have the things that are going to be most helpful to me on the way. And I'll pack my prayer gear, right? My talit and my tefillin. I'll pack a prayer book. Maybe I'll pack a book to study along the way. I'll bring those things with me. A great commentary, the Sfas Emes, on this week's Torah portion, he talks about the Sabbath as not an end point of the week, although it is the end point in one way, but rather trying to make us see it as in a different light. That the Sabbath, I can put together all the spiritual elements that I need. I can pack my spiritual suitcase, or I can recharge my spiritual battery, whatever analogy, whatever metaphor you want to use, so that when I go out into the week of challenges and stress, I have everything that I need to succeed. The weekday is always a time of God being more hidden, because we're busy paying bills, we're making a living, we're thinking about how I can get by. I'm not thinking about what is my place in the universe. Am I having meaningful time with the people I love? We don't have those opportunities as much during the week. So the Sfas Emes, he says in his genius, the Sabbath is a time to fill up your spiritual batteries. Just like Jacob of old, back in biblical times, before he left, he didn't run. He first thought, what am I going to need when I go out on this dangerous journey? Because that's what it was. He was going out, it says, into a place of spiritual darkness. What am I going to need when I'm out in that place of spiritual darkness? Jacob also instituted the evening prayer. We know that nighttime is also reflective of this dangerous time. At night, it's considered spiritually dangerous. It's considered physically dangerous. Right? You don't want to be out on the streets late at night today either. So we really can see how this little episode of Jacob preparing for a trip can have so much bearing and provide us guidance for how we approach the Sabbath today. The greatest part of the Shabbos, of the Sabbath, what is it? Everybody has their own ideas. I want us to internalize this idea that Shabbat, the Sabbath, prepares us spiritually for the week ahead. And there's another benefit to looking at it that way. Is when I look at what I'm going to do on the Sabbath. How am I going to spend my time from Friday sundown through Saturday night? What am I going to be doing? So if I think of the Sabbath as just a time of rest, I'm going to sleep. I'm going to get as much sleep as I can. I have to make up for the sleep I didn't get during the week, or I'm so tired, I need to, get extra rest. And not to put down getting rest on Shabbat, God forbid. It's a beautiful thing. However, the thing which we really need is to fill up our spiritual batteries. So what things am I going to do on Shabbat that's going to fill me up spiritually? If we put that at the front of our minds, when we're preparing for Shabbat, it brings us even to days before Shabbat, right? Where am I going to be? Who am I going to be spending it with? What am I going to be doing during that time? What am I going to be eating, drinking, and so forth? What's my house going to look like? Am I just going to fall into the weekend, or am I going to prepare for it? Am I going to fall into Shabbat, or am I going to prepare for it? We can learn so much from Jacob, how he prepared for his journey. May we also learn and incorporate this idea to prepare for Shabbat, because Shabbat is the time when we really, more than any other time of the week, we can recharge our batteries. We can prepare ourselves for being out in the world. And when we are spiritually charged for the week, we can then pass on that light the whole week long to the people that we come in contact with, through every situation. But when we're drained spiritually, it's so much harder. It's so much harder to be that light, to be that influencer in the world. Wishing everybody the most awesome Shabbat and Shabbat Shalom.